There we go. So for those of you that did not attend last time, the way we do this is we're going to go around. Everybody gets 2 to 3 minutes to pitch themselves. So tell us who you are, what you do, if you have a business or side hustle, and then tell us what you talk about on podcasts, 1 to 2 topics, and then give us a couple bullet points of what the listeners would leave with. Some tips, some action they can take, and I think that's it. But if you have any links you want to share, you can drop them in the chat after you do your pitch, whether it's your website, your socials, or your podcast if you have one. And then at the end, we will have hosts pitch themselves. So I don't think there's very many of us with podcasts here, but those of us that have one and want to talk about what it is and what we're looking for, we will do that. And then I will go ahead and put in the chat. This is the list that I am updating every month. It is current podcast seeking guests. Some of them specifically are women only guests. Some of them are looking, for any type of guest. But people fill out a form for me for this. So it gives you links to their podcast, links to their guest form. It also gives you some ideas of the type of guest they're looking for, type of topics they're looking for. And I would say most of the podcasts on here I've been a guest on. And so I know they're great hosts and they're great podcasts. So I would not share podcasts I didn't know anything about with you. Only putting on great podcasts on the lists. And I know Connie's been on a couple of them that are on the list too. So if you or someone that has a podcast that would love to be added to this list, just let me know and I can share the link for that with you as well. Okay. So I will pitch myself first as an example. I always like to go because who wants to be first? But before we jump into the official pitching and all of that, does anybody have any questions or anything they want to ask before we get into it?
Oh, I do have a question since I'm a relative new.
I can't hear you, Carrie.
Can you hear me now?
You guys can? Okay, you know what? Let me try this. I think it's because I was sharing my
Audio.
there it is. It's back now. And I will tell
Beautiful.
you, I don't know what Zoom has done with their settings, but sharing audio is very tweaky lately. Just like that, I've noticed every time I share my audio for something and then come back, I have to like readjust it so I can hear. And I also have some people that say their settings are gone where they can't even select to share computer audio anymore, or if they do, it's not coming through right. So, just a heads up, there are some weird Zoom settings, and I think they're updating on these platforms so much that the settings are changing. And then one person I talked to said they had updated their computer settings, and then Zoom wasn't working for them. So, you never know, but don't feel bad. We're all having tech issues at some point. Okay. What were you saying, Carrie? I missed the first part.
Okay, let's see if I can remember.
Remember?
So first of all, I just want to say thank you so much for creating this platform for sharing topics, and I'm assuming that this is recorded and that you will be sharing it with a broader audience as well. Is that accurate?
Correct.
Okay.
So I do record it and I will send the recording out to everyone that has registered and everyone in my community. So other people will see it. And some of the hosts that are listed on the form will get the recording so they can hear as well. And then I also put it on my YouTube channel. So anybody can listen to it on YouTube and reach out to you via that. And of course, your names are in your window. So that will appear on YouTube as well.
Beautiful. Thanks so much. It just helps me to understand the context in which we are sharing. Thank you.
Yeah, and really what I created this for, it was something I saw another membership group I'm a part of do, and I really loved it. She actually had people outside her membership come in and pitch, and then all of us in the membership got to hear it and reach out to people we wanted on our podcast. But what I love about it is one, it's practice. It's like thinking about how do you pitch yourself if someone asked you. But it's also fun to hear how everybody else does it. I know the last time we did it, we all just loved how We all said different things, but we all had this like kind of through line of us as women entrepreneurs and what we talk about and how we want to help others. So I think it's great practice for us, but it's also great to hear how other people's are saying it and maybe like, "Oh, I loved how you said that. I'm going to borrow that." So, it's kind of two sides of the practice thing. And, as this evolves, I'm sure we'll add more aspects to it, but for now, we're just focusing on the pitching. And like I said, feel free to drop your links in the chat after you do your pitch. I will share the chat with everyone after as well. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, I will go ahead and pitch myself. Hi, everyone. Always feels funny. You guys all know me. But anyway, I'm Julie Marty-Pearson. I am a podcaster, speaker, coach, and advocate. I help women own their voice, share their story, and grow their confidence and visibility through podcasting, either as awesome guests, by starting their own show, or growing an existing one. I love being a podcast guest. I have had 22 podcast guest interviews published so far this year. So I have learned a lot by watching what other hosts do. But myself as a guest, I love to talk about podcasting. I really love to talk about how to be strategic about being a podcast guest, choosing the right podcast to be on, as well as if launching a podcast is right for you and your business. I also love to talk about storytelling, how to use your stories as a podcaster, as a speaker, and in your marketing in your business. And of course, I love to talk about community building because community is what keeps us all going as entrepreneurs in the online space. And I love to share that with other people. I have two podcasts myself: The Story of My Pet, which is all about advocating and educating for animal rescue, and Podcast Your Story, which is all about amplifying women's voices in podcasting. There you go. That's a little bit about me. I will drop some of my links in the chat. Anyone want to volunteer to be the next pitch up on the plate? I guess you would say. I do not know baseball, so I'm not going to try that lingo. Megan, go ahead.
I would not try a baseball metaphor either. Hi, everybody. My name is Megan Gall, and long story short, weight loss, but keeping it off for 6+ years. That is the main story that I bring to a podcast. I've been doing podcasts for probably 2 or 3 years, guesting on them. I've never hosted one myself, but um, what you normally get when you bring me on is a deep, heartfelt conversation that speaks to people who have been stuck in repetitive impulsive habits that they really want to change in their heart and are having a hard time changing. So a lot of us can connect with that. And when I'm on a podcast, usually that's the story that that tends to come out. A little bit of background on that for me. I was about 235 pounds in 2018. And then by 2019, I was about this 135 range. And the biggest changes really happened between 2019 and now in learning to keep that off. And that's the piece that's different than a lot of um, podcasts who would have someone with a big health transformation come on. There's a lot about the change, but not a lot about the maintenance. And that's the piece that a lot of people are very curious about, but there's not a lot of talking about it and a lot of uncovering what it's really like, what kind of habits keep it going, and how to balance it with real life. So that's what I like to talk about. I also have it's called Partake One-on-One Tailored Coaching Service. And that's my main thing that I offer, and that's my full-time job. So that's what I love to offer people at the end, a way to keep in touch with me if that's something that they want to learn from me about, or actually purchase the service. So I often do freebies at the end related to free coaching calls, or recipe packs, or habit changing exercises. So I have a lot of PDFs with ways for people to bring themselves through some self-coaching. Um, a little bit about the flavor that I give. I am a big old nerd. I love to cook and meal prep. I love, pop culture references, and I love data. So if you like to dive into any of those nerdy, geeky kind of vibes, I'm glad to do that too. From Staten Island, New York, also. that's really about it. Any questions? I'll put my Instagram down here, which is where you'll find all my links.
Great. Good job. Let's give Megan some love for being the first to go after me.
Thank you.
And I love that, Megan. I love that. As someone who has been on diet since I was a kid, I think that's such an important thing. And I love how you talked about it is, the maintenance is the keeping it up. Everybody focuses on how to lose it and how to do the stuff, but I love that that's your focus. And I think as a guest, that's definitely a unique perspective.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Who would like to go next? Karen, go ahead.
Okay, I had no idea what we were going to be doing today, so I just put this together. So I'm Karen Ray, the founder of Fave Lifestyles and Celebrating 1 Million Women Being Brave movement. And I have created a platform where women can turn their life stories into powerful tools for connection, healing, and impact through our magazine, my podcast, The Being Brave Tour, and a national tour called The Being Brave Tour. And we're celebrating everyday courage and creating spaces where women can be seen, heard, and celebrated. And my topics are, um, of course, my story. And it's from invisible to inspiring 1 million women, and how defining moments can lead to creating a movement and empowering women and rediscovering our voices. And my takeaways from that are just the everyday brave that we as women walk through, and how that can be inspiring for other women, and that your story holds power to create change. And my second topic is from a mission to movement, turning dreams into impact, behind the Being Brave movement and what we have done and how that has impacted women along the way. And these brave topics that we can bring to the podcast and to celebrate those 1 million women.
I love that. Yay. As women, we all have a story, right?
We
Even if we
do, we have
think no one
many.
cares, but there's a story we have to share that somebody else needs to hear. Absolutely. I love that. Well, thank you so much, Karen. It looks like everybody's already given you love. I love that. Now, you mentioned your tour. So, are you doing like live podcast recordings? What is that all about?
Yeah, the Being Brave tour, we're bringing it, can be virtual or in person. I was just in Las Vegas with some lovely ladies at their summit and interviewed them in a panel story. And I've also taken it to Jackie Cote's community. And so I have 3 other communities that we're doing it in 2025, and we'll be booking new communities in 2026, whether it's virtual or in person. Yep.
Amazing. I love
And
that.
see how many women we can share their stories and uplift their communities. And yeah, and then have a support piece with our magazine that goes out to them.
Oh, that's amazing. Love
Yeah,
that.
thank you.
Yay. Okay. Well, so glad you came, Karen. And now you know what it is. And I was just, as she was talking, I thought, I think the next added piece is this, which is pretty quick for me to do, is to take this recording and clip out your piece and send you guys the video so you can use it for things. So I will add that to my to-do list because I was just thinking, like, this is great. We could just grab it and put it on our own social medias. So that is the new thing. I said it earlier, so then my brain thought of a new thing to do with it this time. Okay, next up, Carrie, Super Kate, who wants to go? I'll let Carrie go. She unmuted first. There we go.
You know me, I'm always ready to talk, even though this is a new format for me. So my name's Carrie Ascension Helms, and I am the founder of Keys to Empowerment. And what I'm all about is helping midlife reinvention. I call myself a midlife reinvention alchemist because what I find is similar to Karen. I find that when women begin to excavate their stories, that they can begin to see how powerful they are. So I'm trained as a somatic psychotherapist, and I'm an international best-selling author, speaker, and coach, and which gives me an opportunity to have a reach to help women around the world actually to tap into a deeper level of what I call radiance. And I find that it's an inside out story. So rather than we can spend our lives, I just came off of doing a retreat this past weekend. So I guess I'm really clear on what it is that women are craving because we were excavating the stories that we've internalized. and then alchemized into our strong points. So we can spend our lives either with the drumbeat of stay busy and follow what else is going on in the world, or we can be nonconformists and say we can find our own drum beat. So I speak on a few different topics, but momentum magic is one of them. Why goals alone don't buy happiness. Stop exhaustion leading into your power partners, dare to dream, how to be juicy aliveness. I think you were asking for takeaways, but really the ultimate thing is for women to begin to realize that they are the author of their lives, hence the Be the Queen of Your Destiny. That's on the title there, is really they're the author of their lives, and beginning to say, get clear on what their heck yes is and their hell no. So they stop doing the stuff that's draining them, depleting them, and begin to rewrite their story. So I like to say it's like seeing yourself differently. So it's putting on new lenses, seeing yourselves as the resilient soul that you are, so that you can live forward with embodied grit and grace. So building strength and resiliency for the days ahead from both community and also getting clear on how it's an inside out world. So did I hit all the prompts?
You did. You did a great job.
Okay.
Love that. And I also love hearing that your retreat helped you like think about really what it looks like, right? I think sometimes when we have events or we host events, and hear from the people there, we start to really get a better understanding of what we're doing, but how to help people more from there. So I love that. Yay.
Well,
Okay.
Julie. Julie's been helping me to identify opportunities and then helping me to apply to these opportunities, because it's really hard to do the coaching bit, the marketing bit, and everything. So I just wanted to give you
Yeah.
a plug, Julie,
Oh,
for
thank
helping.
you.
Appreciate your oversight, your assistance.
I appreciate that. And since we have a smaller group at the end, I'll give some of my big tips for finding podcasts and speaking, since you mentioned that, because it's always good to share some of my super tips. This is a great time to find both speaking and podcasts because everybody's starting to book for next year. And I know several people who are looking at what's my new season of my podcast next year going to be? Who do I want to have on? So it's definitely a great time to be doing that. Okay, Connie, I see you're unmuted. Would you like to go next?
Sure. Okay, so my name is Connie Warden. I live in Littleton, Colorado, and I've been an acupuncturist for a couple of decades. And I'm a yoga nut. I love yoga. I love to teach yoga and mindfulness. I really love the whole mindfulness stuff. So when I was a real asshole on the road, and I went, this is not who I want to be. I decided to try and learn how to use what I teach and what I want in my life to be a better driver on the road. So I wrote a book, and it's called Speeding to Compassion: Life Lessons and Humor to the High Road. There's a lot of humor in it. And when I'm on podcasts, it's just such a universal experience that we just story after story. And then the takeaways, I kind of have three takeaways, and it's what's kind of wake do you want to leave? For one, think about that. Even if it is on the road, um, the stories we make up in our head about people, and we have no idea, and it's all made up. And so, knowing it's made up, make up a different story or just drop it. And that's where that whole mindfulness piece comes in. And so there's a lot of humor. I kind of, I'm pretty good at self-deprecation in a good, funny way because we're all human. I think the biggest thing my takeaway is that we have to have compassion for our humanity and for not being perfect and for we're going to lose it at times. So that's me.
Love that. Thank you. I realized we didn't give Carrie love either, so we'll give both Carrie and Connie some love after their pitches. And yes, Connie, working from home, I'm not out in the world as much as I used to be, and when I do go out, I lose my temper much quicker, I think, because I'm like, people are just crazy. People are in their own world doing all these things, and they're not really paying attention to the world around us. And we don't know why. We don't know what the story is. We have no idea what they're out doing or where they're going. And I think that, we need to give people grace, but we also need to give ourselves grace because sometimes we fly off the handle about something that has nothing to do with why we're upset or what we're storing, what negativity we have inside. So, such important things for people to think about. Okay, last but not least, Super Kate, are you ready to do your pitch?
I am. And honestly, like, what a great lead in talking about grace and like the compassion that we should have for everyone and for ourselves, honestly. So I'm Super Kate, and I'm known as the weighted blanket for your nervous system. And I support all of you and those incredible women out there who are doing it all, those just super passionate leaders who want to build the businesses that they see will create the world that they're envisioning for their kids. But like all of us, we're immensely exhausted maintaining that marathon of the entrepreneurship in the state of this world. But we can do that through nervous system regulation and energy management. And not only can we sustain what we've been doing, but we can actually increase our impact. We can take those moments when we're really I am an aggressive driver or offensive. Actually, I'm an offensive driver. Let's reframe that. I'm an offensive driver. I pride myself on my offensiveness, but I have those moments, right, where I get overwhelmed, both because I've already been overwhelmed and not acknowledging it, but then in those times when somebody else comes into that bubble. And that's where I really shine, and I help all of you connect all of that and pull yourselves out of it. I really love talking about how the body and the brain are supposed to work together. And I think what a lot of podcasts talk about are affirmations or getting your morning routine right, or these very sort of logical brain only steps that don't get the results or just add another thing onto the list of things that you're already trying to maintain. So I come in and we really we begin to talk about, and I love a good conversation, and I'm clearly very energetic. I do not mind being on camera, but we talk about how we can connect what your body's feeling to your mindset to create a better outcome for you. And other topics like how being calm doesn't mean you're a doormat. It doesn't mean you are numb. Being calm is actually the foundation to a strong leader. And a strong leader is really where you need to be to get that impact that you want to have in the world. So I help your clients with, or your your listeners, clients, however you want to look at that. I help them with simple tools. We can talk about both how it has affected my life, coming from a entertainment industry background, and how that and all of the fun, crazy stories there were both enhanced and also taken down because of my regulation issues. And yeah, I'm not for the podcaster who wants to just ask questions and not have an interaction. I want the back and forth. So, and then again, hopefully in the future soon, I will have my own podcast and we can all talk about that then. So there you go. Thank you.
Yay! Love to hear that. We're moving her closer and closer to the podcasting. Okay, let's give Super Kate some love. Thank you so much. And I have to say, she was with us last time for Pitch Fest, and when she said the weighted blanket, and it was the same thing. All of you guys had this physical response to her saying that. Like, wait. So we said, that is a great name for a podcast. So hopefully the Way to Blanket podcast, whatever that looks like, will be here soon. Oh, I love that. So now that we've heard everybody pitch, does anybody have any comments or anything that came to them as we were listening to each other? Feel free to unmute and share anything that stood out to you. Other than the fact we all mentioned kind of similar things in different ways, right? Just the ways we want people to improve or get better or do their life differently, I feel like kind of came out.
I think what I really appreciated was the power of story
Mhm.
to transform and elevate, amplify our voice, and just how important the work that all of us, are doing to elevating women's voices.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and one thing that I heard too, and I think Supergate was saying it, is that conversation. How nice it is to come and have a conversation about something, and in a podcast to be able to kind of not just have such a, a regulated little system, which it works for some podcasts too, but I enjoy too those conversations. And let's go a little bit deeper. Let's see what where we can really go with the conversation and bring really important topics to the table.
Absolutely. And that's how I do both of my podcasts is more conversational. People always ask me, "So what questions are you going to ask me?" I don't know. We'll see where the conversation takes us. And that doesn't mean there aren't certain questions I often ask each person I have on, but it is more about the conversation about us connecting and how, I've had some amazing conversations as a guest that we start here, but we end up two other places that we didn't expect. An hour and a half later, we're like, oh, well, that was great. So I think that is the power of podcasting. I think that's why people respond to it and why it continues to grow, because that's what people like to listen to. It's that connection, it's that conversation. And I like to say that I do think that podcasting is in a lot of way replacing or becoming the new version of daytime talk shows. I mean, a lot of celebs that have podcasts now are interview based and they're interviewing people they know who are their friends, but it's them conversating in that way that we all loved watching, growing up, daytime talk shows when we got to stay home from school or whatever it may be. And so I think that really, especially for women, that's what we're all craving. And for a lot of us working in the online space, we don't get to be around other women physically a lot. And so we want that conversation in the events we attend, the podcasts we listen to, the interviews we get to do. And so, yeah, I do feel those connections, like everybody has said, in different ways. And it is the story. Our story, whatever it may be, is going to help someone, whether it's about weight loss and maintaining it, it's about driving and getting upset at people. There's all these different stories we have. And one of the things I try to help people do is figure out how they can use that in examples of how they help people or how people can make changes and all of that in their life. So I love that. I'm going to drop in the chat the link. We will be doing this pitch fest again December 7th. You are all welcome to come more than once. It is not a one and done situation. It's a great way to come back and practice more, but hopefully every month, like this month, we'll have new people attending and we'll have, we'll grow the group even bigger. And I'm also going to drop again in the chat, just in case you missed it earlier, which is the list to the podcasts. Oops, I have currently looking for guests. I want to make sure I share that again. And then one thing that was mentioned last time, we haven't mentioned yet, but I will discuss a little bit, is if you are actively looking for podcasts and you feel like you're having to spend a lot of time searching, finding podcasts, what are good fits, one of the platforms I highly recommend is Podmatch. And Podmatch is a software that was specifically built for matching podcast hosts with podcast guests. And I just saw Alex Sanfilippo, who is the founder of that, post that they have paid out over 1 million podcasters for using their platform. So they have a huge pool of both guests and hosts, and they really have a great system. They give you a profile to fill in different things, to put different parts of who you are and what you do, as well as pick tags about what your big, talk SEO is in terms of the type of podcast you're looking for as a guest. And you can get matched to 3 podcasts every 1 to 2 days in the system. So it is a very high ROI. I use it, and that I probably got at least 75% of the podcasts I've been on this year were from Podmatch. And it's still a pretty low cost option. I did put the link in if you want to try a free trial. It's a great thing to test out and see if you like it. It's not for everybody. There are other Podmatch type systems out there, including Matchmaker and Podpitch. I personally didn't love Matchmaker when I tested it out, and Podpitch is much more expensive. It's several hundred a month. And the reason they charge so much is because they have a lot of top like 2% podcasts in their system. So it's a much higher level of podcasts looking for guests. So I always recommend Podmatch. Alex is great. Him and his wife, as well as some others, run that, and they're very interactive. You can ask them questions. They have a lot of great tools within it, teaching you how to use it and how to be a more strategic guest. And he also came into the community and did a whole hour-long talk about it. So I will link his recording to my YouTube channel in the follow-up email, so you guys can check that out too. He really gave some amazing super tips for podcast guesting because he's been doing it. You know, he's had Podmatch out for several years, and it just continues to grow. So one of the things I also love to share for podcast guests, if you haven't heard about it, which I don't know if I have the link, let me grab it really quick, is a site called Listen Notes, and I did not spell it correctly, so that would help. And I know Connie knows this because I've mentioned it to her many times. But listennotes.com is actually a podcast directory. So pretty much all podcasts are listed on it. When we get set up as a podcast and we get ourselves set up to go to Apple and Spotify, Listen Notes is one of the directories we get sent to. And you can search by keyword, by topic, by host name, by podcast name. And the reason I share it is because it is a great tool for getting more information about podcasts than what you see if you're looking at it in a podcast player or on YouTube. It's going to give you info like how long has the podcast been out? How often do episodes come out? How long are the episodes? What format? It also gives you some data. Is it a top ranking podcast? Things like that. So it's some of the data pieces. You know, I'm a data person, so I love that, but you can't see it if you're searching in Apple Podcasts or in Spotify or something like that. So it is some great information. And the other thing I love about it is if you search and go to a podcast you like, it might be a good fit. On the right, it also gives you other recommendations that are similar to that podcast. So it's a great kind of domino effect of finding podcasts that would be a good fit for you and what you talk about, and then you find more and find more. So I really love to share that tool because it is a great way to search podcasts, especially if you're just getting started or you've been doing it for a while and are trying to kind of find new podcasts that you haven't heard of before. I recently heard, there are millions of podcasts, but only a small percentage of them, I think 5% or less, are actually active. So that's another reason I do Listen Notes. It's because you can see when their last episode was and how often they're posting, because there's no reason to pitch yourself to a podcast that isn't actually actively putting out new episodes, right? So I love sharing that. And if anybody else has any other tools or suggestions they want to share, feel free to do so. Okay. Resources to transcribe your podcast or download a description from the audio.
Yeah.
Yes. So a couple, I use Descript, which is an editing software, but when you upload audio or video into Descript, the first thing it does is give you a transcription of it. Yeah, it's literally what it does. And one of the reasons a lot of us love Descript is you can actually edit in the transcript instead of having to edit the audio part of it. So you can literally highlight words and remove it, and it removes it. And you're actually editing the accompanying audio and video by editing within the transcription itself.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I love Descript, and it's user friendly. It's low cost. I think I pay 30 or 35 a month for it. And it's cloud-based, so there can be some lag issue because you have to have internet to use it. I would say that's the one downside, but the upside of that is everything you upload into Descript is then in your Descript, so it's also like another place to have it cloud-based that you're saving all your content. But that's literally what it does when you upload. It creates a transcription right at the beginning. And if it's more than one person speaking, you can then identify speakers and label it. So then the name goes with each person's voice and their words. And so you actually get a transcription based on who's talking and who's saying what. It's not perfect. Sometimes you have to edit it a little bit, but for the most part, it does a really good job at that.
Awesome.
And then another tool that I use, let me grab my links for, I think I have a Descript link. I do. I will drop that in the chat. Another tool I use, some of you may have heard me reference it before. It's called CapShow. And CapShow is an AI tool that was specifically built for podcasts. It was built by two women founded, women owned, Bona and Deidre, and they built it like 5 years ago because they were podcasting and they hated looking at a blank page to create their show notes from. Like they felt like they had this great episode, but then they had to go back and write a description about it, right, for the show notes. And so they created CapShow to do that for them organically. So it is an AI based tool, but it is not like chat. It is not pulling from the internet or other sources. You upload your audio or video, it then processes it, and then it creates show notes and titles and social media from your content. And so I use it every day for both of my podcasts. I also sometimes use it for like speaking or workshops. I'll put workshops in there, and then it gives me some content to share about those. So it's a really great tool. And I think I have the link for that as well. I'll see. I better. Yep, I do. There it is. And you can sign up for CapShow for a free trial. If you use my code, you then get the rate of, I believe it's $49 a month, as long as you keep it. And the regular rate, I think, is $99 a month. So, and it's a great tool, and they are always adding new features. They now have a clipping studio piece where you can take something you've already uploaded and it'll auto generate clips from it for you. It also has a new thing where you can create thumbnails for YouTube. So it has a lot of great tools within it. But I will say the one thing I use it for is my title and description for my audio episode versus my YouTube episode, because those are different. The SEO is different. So CapShow creates them separately. So I get a version for my audio feed and a version for my YouTube video version with tags, which is different on YouTube than like hashtags on social media. So it cuts out a lot of that work that, like, I don't know the difference between that and that, but it generates it based on the different platforms. It also gives you a LinkedIn newsletter, a blog post. It gives you so much. I never use it all, but you have it to go back to. And it's also great because if you've put out episodes and you're not actively putting out new ones, you can go back in and like pull some old clips or, put out a new newsletter you haven't done before for an old episode. So it's a great way to generate a lot of content that you already exist because it's from your episodes. And bonus now, you can take a YouTube link from someone else's YouTube channel and put it into CapShow. You tell it, I don't own this content, but I'm in this content. So I take links from my guest episodes, I put it into CapShow, and then I can write blogs and newsletters and social posts about my guest interviews. So again, it's my words, it's only pulling from my words, and I'm giving credit to the host and the name of the podcast. But I get to use stories I've told, examples I've given in my interviews, and use that in my own content. So from that perspective, it's kind of unlimited what you can do with that as well. So those, I will say, Descript and CapShow I use every day within my content process and podcasting process. And they've definitely helped me with YouTube because I just started a new channel for my pet one. I had them both on one and it was very confusing. So now I have separate. And so it helps me really kind of build from having both of them on their own channels. Any other questions, comments? I think, let's see. Super Kate, yes. When signing up for Podmatch, do you sign up as a guest or both? Even though I haven't started, I would just sign up as a guest for now. And then what will happen is once you have a podcast, you can go back in and add the podcast profile. So a lot of people I know only are as guests. And then if you want to add the podcast part later, you can add that onto your account, and then you'll create a separate profile for your podcast. So like if you look me up in there, I have a guest profile and then I have a profile for my Story of My Pet podcast. So they're each generating matches separately for my guest and host profiles. I will say the one downside is that you can only do one podcast per person. So my other podcast isn't on Podmatch because I haven't had time to go in and create a separate account to create a podcast profile for it. I don't know, maybe that'll change in the future, but yeah, you can, they're separate profiles and I believe they're different costs. I think the host profile is cheaper than the guest one because as you can imagine, the guests are being more active maybe than the hosts are. But don't quote me on that. I'll have to check that. Anybody else have any questions or anything about anything we've shared?
Just appreciation that you have so many resources. I'm like, wow, it blows my mind. Thank you.
Sometimes it can be a little overwhelming. I understand. And I will share all these links when I send the email out tomorrow. Once I have the episode, once I have the recording up on YouTube, I'll send all of them as well. But I think that's really what I try to do in my community. It's like, I'm not going to hold all this because, yeah, I've used it and it helps me, but there's no reason not to share it because that's really what podcasting is. And what I found is it's a community and everybody's willing to share and support each other because if you guys grow, I grow. It's a mutual process. And I do have both of my podcasts listed on the podcast list I shared with you. I am not currently scheduling any new guests because I am sitting on a bunch of interviews for both of my podcasts. Finding the time to get them out seems to be my biggest struggle at the moment. But I will be starting to record new episodes in early 2026. So if you or someone would like to be on one of those, there is a wait list link for mine that you can fill out. And then some of you, actually, I think most of you have been to one of my podcaster parties. So next year, I will still be doing networking. I think I'm going to split it up and have one event, which is just networking, and one event, which is the speaker and, talking about a topic in podcasting. So if you know someone that you think would be a great speaker for that networking group, let me know because I'm kind of trying to decide what that's going to look like and what type of speakers I'm going to have for that next year. So if you know someone or you have a topic you would love to learn more about specific to podcasting, let me know because I'm definitely building that out for next year. Now, Karen, I know you have a podcast. Since we have some time left, do you want to share with everyone what type of guests you're looking for at this point for your podcast?
Absolutely. There's two type of guests that I'm looking for. So it's called the Being Brave Tour. And I have been sharing stories of women for the last 10 years. I started off with a web show early on in YouTube and just to have carried that through everything I've done. So it's women 45 plus. That's who our target audience is. And it's women. It's women just being everyday brave. It's those things that we do. Some women have big things. Some women, it's just those small things of getting through the transitions or the challenges. So I'm looking for women with their stories. And it's really framed around being brave. And so all of our stories have a brave component to it. And then the other guest that I'm looking for is if you have a topic that you want to bring to the table, it's not a business promotion per se. It's let's have a conversation about, the latest one was with some doctors about menopause and some of the myths and those types of things and what is important to women. So what are women really concerned about in today's world? How can we, by talking about this topic, how can we open up a conversation that will bring other women in? And so those are the people that we're looking for, is really to kind of round table talk, if you will. That's just very conversational. It's raw, it's real, and you never know what's going to come up.
Love that. So true. And I think there are so many things that us as women we're all dealing with in one way or another, and menopause is one of them. No matter whether you've had kids or not, we all go through that, right? And versus mom topics, for those of us like me that don't have kids, menopause, no matter what, we all go through it. We
Yep.
all are affected by it. And there are so many things like that, mental health, other physical health issues that women, there's things I've been through in my life. Like, gosh, I just wish I had known someone who had dealt with it to talk to before I went through this, right?
Right. Yeah, it's like tapping it into your girlfriend, but your girlfriend who actually knows something rather than just
Right.
chatter. But
Than just what you saw on
yeah,
TikTok or Facebook
yeah,
ads, right?
yes,
Okay, I
yeah,
love that.
yeah. So
Anybody else? I want to make sure I didn't miss anybody. Megan, do you have a podcast? I was
So I have an Instagram where I do lives every week on
okay.
Thursdays. So I've thought about having guests on it, but I'm not sure yet.
Okay. Just wanted to check. I was like, I know you said something, but we've all said so much. I didn't want to miss you. Okay. Well, and if anyone knows people who have podcasts that would love to be added to the list, please feel free to connect me with them, or I can share the link to them, because the more we have on that, the better. Because, so many podcasts are, and some of the podcasts that are on there are incredible at constantly putting out content. So I know they're at the point now where they're really looking for new guests. Amy Stone is one of them. I honestly don't know how she does it. She puts out like 2 episodes a week or something. Like every time I go on one of my social, there's a new post from her about a new episode. So I know she is actively looking for new guests. And, some of us aren't as great as getting content out, myself included, but we're always looking for guests or new ideas. I think, like Karen said, sometimes we want to know what topics people want us to talk about, right? Even in podcasting, like what is the topic you have? Kate mentioned something yesterday. I was like, what day is it? About private podcasts, which is not something I've done. I've seen some other people do it. I've seen some other people talk about it. Having a private podcast feed, which is used as like a lead magnet or for your clients, it is popular, but it's very different than a normal podcast setup. So that was something that kind of spurred me to look into it. Like, I don't even know. Does my host do that? I have no idea. So anything like that that you hear and you would love to have covered in this community or on one of my podcasts, please feel free to let me know, because we're always looking for new topics. And the thing is with podcasting is it changes every day. So there's always going to be a plethora of new things. I mean, Netflix is now in the podcasting game. Have no idea what that is going to look like, but you're going to be able to get podcasts in your Netflix feed just like all the other shows, which is changing the game for podcasting. But it's also like, what does that mean for podcasting? Some people still love the traditional audio only. Some people are all about the video. And so the great thing about podcasting is you can do it any way you want to. But it's also a little overwhelming when you feel like you have to be doing it 10 different ways right when you start. And I still feel that way myself. So any topics you guys have, I'm happy to find people to come into the community and share that. Let me make sure I've shared all the links I had for you guys today.
Can I mention one other thing? Would it be okay?
Absolutely.
Okay. So the other thing I've just been, this movement has just it's all starting, all coming together. And I just made some, I just opened up our magazine for resources. So if women have a business and they have a resource, they can submit it for free. And we'll be choosing resources to go into our magazine. And there's no cost if you are chosen for the magazine. And you can
That's
always come
great.
alongside of us. And I have some paid options if you want to be on our site and be part of our resource hub. But yeah, so I'm taking applications for that, and I'll put the link in the chat too.
That's amazing. Thank you. Yeah, I love that. Anyway, we can share resources between each other and referrals.
And just to put kind of like a fine-tuned point on that, Karen, these are tools, these for what? Braving change, or
Each issue, there's different issues. So one was on navigating change. The next one was menopause. The one coming up is for women entrepreneurs. And then it's going to be followed up by relationships. But whatever resource you have, sometimes it might fit. So just if you have a resource that you use, and we'll see if it fits one of the upcoming issues.
okay.
Yeah,
That's
but
great.
the next two is women entrepreneurs, and it's divided into sections. Some of it's about your mindset, some of it's about your heart, the action steps, and how can we celebrate you is usually how each magazine is divided.
That's great. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people have lead magnets or, checklist things that they might be able to share with you. Amazing. I'm going to share our other upcoming events. Oops, I don't know why it keeps doing those previews. The Women's Podcaster Party is not next week, the week after, so the week before Thanksgiving. And in November, there is no featured speaker, so both events are going to be a full hour of networking. So everyone will get a chance to introduce themselves, and then we'll do multiple breakout rooms so people can get to know each other more in small groups. And then I'm also hosting next week at 2 different times my Launch a Podcast on a Budget free workshop. So, if you or someone you know has been thinking about a podcast, I'm really going to break it down to like the bare essentials because it doesn't have to cost a lot of money to start a podcast if someone really wants to do that. And I'm going to talk about the different elements of what that would look like because, as some of you may know, the first of the year is a great time to launch a podcast because that is when everybody is looking for new podcasts to listen to, is looking for new motivation, new content, all of that. So, I dropped those links. Karen dropped her link for her magazine. Does anybody else have any events or things they want to share with everyone? Okay. Well, we actually got all that in with 5 minutes to spare. I love that. So, the one thing I did forget, I just realized, is to take a picture. So, let's grab a picture and then I will post it. That way, everyone can follow each other if they don't already. Okay, I'll give us a countdown. 1, 2, 3. There it went. Took a minute. Oh no, that's a bad picture of me. My eyes are. I was looking down. Okay, we're gonna do that. Of course. Okay, here we go again. 1, 2, 3. Got it this time. Thank you very much. Well, I want to thank you all. I know that right now the world is crazy, life is busy, we're heading into the holidays. So I appreciate all of you coming and spending your time here with us and sharing a little bit about you and what you do. I mean, let's just admit it, we are all great women that are supporting other women in fabulous, amazing ways. So I am so happy to have you. And by tomorrow, I will send out a follow up email with the link to this on YouTube, as well as all the links that I shared. And I hope to see you guys back again in December. Bye, everybody. Thank you so much for being here.